like good, like, intertwined in most of your life, but things are going to happen. People are going to die. Things are going to happen. People get into foreclosure. They get into bankruptcy. People get into car accidents. People get cancer. Like, stuff happens, And I think and I know, like you were saying, when people are in a negative season, you do feel like when's it going to end? And we want to hurry up and get it over with. But I feel like the lessons are there. People miss the lessons when they're in the valley. But actually, all the good lessons are in the valley, not at the top of the mountain. I just did.
Welcome back to the Empowered Woman, Badass, and Unfiltered podcast. Your host, Olivia, here. And this is season 9, the most impactful guest season. And today I have got Dwan Bent-Twyford. And listen, this lady, we did a podcast together a little over a year ago. It's called From Denny's to Diamonds. And so she's really big in real estate. She's done over 2,000 flips in real estate investing. And I mean, she's such an inspirational person. So definitely, if you want some of that inspiration, click the link below, get 4 of her free eBooks. 4. I mean, talk about value, but you're gonna listen in on this conversation or watch this conversation and just see how amazing and resilient that Dwan is and why I had to bring her back. I mean, that, and she has pink and purple hair right now. Like,
who doesn't love my hair?
I love, oh my goodness, I love that. Like, it's so cute.
Well, see, it matches my flamingos. These are my sidekicks. So this one's Daisy May, and this one's Miss Delilah. And I actually got them hats from like the 1920s, like original hats. So these are like my OG real estate investors.
How have you been since we last spoke? Because there's been a lot of stuff going on in your life.
When we did that podcast, I think I was in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Was I in Florida? Because we were going to do one, and like the AC or something went out. And I was like, girl, listen, we can't do this. I am dying from the heat right now. Remember that? Yeah. And then we rescheduled it because I was like, I don't even know. That seems like it was 400 years ago with all the things that have been going on since then. But some people that follow me or hear this or go look at my information, my husband went through a bone marrow transplant over the last year. He got diagnosed with a super rare, weird blood disease that lives inside the bone marrow. And so he had a full bone marrow transplant, stem cell transplant. And so for the last year, we've been living in this crazy medical bubble. And still, I've been podcasting and flipping some houses and taking care of him. And it has been the most unbelievable year I think I could ever even imagine a person would have. Like anybody.
And guys, like, she's on TikTok, so please go check out her TikTok because she shows so much of like her life. She also gives like some real estate and investing tips too. So like but you get to know so much about like who she is and like just the behind the scenes and her like really taking care of her husband during this time. And I'm just like, man, love. And one of the other things that that we've connected on is the fact we're both Christians. And every time I look at the red letters, very much so in Matthew, very much, there's a lot in Matthew. I think about what you said about, it's all in the red letters.
Yeah, the truth is in the red letters. Yeah, that's my sign off. That's my slogan, is the truth is in the red letters. And I did that. Sorry. I just got my phone hooked back up here in the mountains. And I haven't figured out how to shut this phone off in my office. It's been ringing all week. It's like, what's happening? So when I started my podcast, I was really trying to think of, like, some of these news people have, like, some sort of a sign off. And I thought I want to have like a sign off. Like I want to be like, how the news people do. And remember Walter Cronkite? Well, you probably don't remember him, but he would say like, I don't know, good night until tomorrow or something. All these people have these sign offs. So I literally prayed for months. I was like, I need a really good sign off. But it needs to let people know about God, but it can't be like too corny. Like it needs to be something. And I spent like 6 months. I was like, Lord, you need to give me the words. Like, give me some words. And then all of a sudden one day I was like, oh, the truth is in the red letters. That's it. It's in the Bible. Boom. And that was it. And I actually didn't even start my podcast so I got my words, because it took like 2 or 3 months and I couldn't get like something that I felt would be impactful. And I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people email me or text message or direct message and say, hey, what does that mean? And I was like, oh, well, what do you think it means? That's what I first say. Then they tell me what they think it means, and most people are completely, they have no idea. They really have no idea at all, which shocks me. It's like, how do you not know that? And so I tell them, like, oh, okay. I have to just grab a Bible or get one on your phone that's got the red letters on it and just read everything in the red letters and see how you feel about things. So I was super excited about it. And so every day, everywhere, that's my sign off on everything.
Yeah,
Truth is in the red letters. Because if you don't know and you're going through stuff, read what the red letters in the Bible are, everything Jesus said. And I'm telling you, in the last year, I've read them a million times.
what are what are some of the things that, even though, like, because this is an unprecedented time in your life,
Oh, yeah.
Having to be a caretaker like this, it's different than being somebody's mother. You didn't birth your husband, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Girl, I know. I was just like, oh my God. There's a couple times, they have you watch videos, and you have to talk to a counselor 3 or 4 times, and they sort of explain, like, here's what's going to be happening, and make sure you have self-care, and they show you how to clean the port and just stuff. But then when he actually came home and we went into our apartment and I saw all the medication and all the pages of stuff. And I have this binder, it's like 200 pages in this binder. I've read like 15 times, and I was like, okay, I got this. This will be easy. Oh my God. The first week I was going to have a heart attack. It's not easy. And there's so much caretaking, and I'm really queasy. So half the time I was just like, what? I'm trying to clean the port and change it. And I'm so queasy. And having to just clean everything, and like, oh my God, I was like, oh Lord have mercy, you need to give me some strength over here, because I am not going to make it. I'm going to be like, I almost passed out a couple times. And I don't know, it's somewhere within like the first 2 weeks, we just got a groove. It's like, okay, here's what we do, and here's how we do it. I set all these alarms on my phone for this pill, this pill, this pill, that. So my alarm would ring, and it's time to do this and that. I don't know. We just got into a groove, but it really is unprecedented, because people take care of people that have cancer all the time, but to have something like a full bone marrow transplant, where you're forced to live in a very small, confined, ultra clean area that you have to clean like every day, head to toe, from the ceilings to the floors, and all the caretaking and just all the things that can go wrong. It's really like, I don't know. I wouldn't even wish it on like my very worst enemy. But on the other side of the coin, it was really sweet, and we had a lot of really sweet moments, and it was just really intimate and personal, taking care of each other, like, to that level. And, I don't know. It was, like, weirdly good. And that sounds bad, but, he had the polycythemia, the precursor to this, for 8 years, and it really affected our lives a lot, negatively, because if he got wet, like, one of the side effects is just wet, like from sweating, your body itches from head to toe. Like, every inch of you itches for hours on end. So like, just think about, for 8 years you have a husband, and every time he sweats or gets wet or you're having sex, he starts itching all over the place. It was, and like, we have a house in Florida, and he'd go to Florida and he'd just be like going crazy, and he was taking every kind of medication to off put that one side effect, and it really affected us a lot over the years. And now he's like, the shower every day. We're doing the deed all the time. And like all those weird things are completely gone. So it's almost like it was a blessing to be able to be on the other side of it because we got our lives back.
For somebody that's listening that's going through a similar situation, what would you suggest while they're in the trenches? What would you suggest for them?
Yeah. I don't know. I just know that I made sure every day to take a few minutes every day and just pray or even just walk the hallways at the apartment we were staying at or sit outside for a minute and just take a minute. And I think for me the most important thing was I try to find the good in everything instead of being like, and this is what the doctor even specifically said. They said most people come in here and they're like, "Oh my God, I've got cancer, I'm dying," and they're so mentally distraught because that's why half the people don't make it. They're so distraught about everything, and he goes, their mindset is so bad. And I never one day was like, "Oh, why is this happening to us, God? Like, don't you love us?" I never had one day like that. I was like, "Okay, so now we get this done, and we're on the other side of it, and then all the other issues he has goes away, and it's like a fresh start." So I just think you have to really honestly, like really keep your mindset right. I mean, there was days I cried, and there was a few days where I was just really freaked out, like looking at all this wall of medicine and just stuff. And I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening right now?" But then I thought, but we're on the other side of it. So I just think your mindset, that's what the doctors told us so many times. Like mindset's everything. They said you're the first people that ever came in here and said, "Okay, let's get this over with so we can get on the other side." 'Cause everybody else is freaking out and crying. "Oh my God." Oh. And he goes, "Honestly, they're a mess." I'm like, "Yeah, but you can't get through stuff being a mess. You know?"
There's a lot of questions I have for you. So I'm gonna
I mean,
just
I
I'm
don't know, and
just
that may not sound bad. I mean, I don't know. I never thought he would die or we wouldn't make it. I felt like this would give us our life back, which is weird. But we had the whole 8 years prior, which was crazy. And I thought, well, this will give us our life back, provided, of course, he doesn't die. So I was like, "Lord, do not let this man die on my watch." So I don't know.
what have you learned about yourself, and Bill and just your relationship?
Well, so many things. One thing I do, this may seem really weird and random. We have a really big house here. We have a 7,000 square foot house, and I really love. I love apartment living. I've always loved living in smaller spaces. And one thing I learned about myself is I don't like having this big giant house. And then some people be like, "But you got a 7,000 square foot house in the mountains." And I'm like, "It's beautiful. It's worth like $1.5 million. It's amazing." And honestly, I like smaller spaces. And I really realized that living in Denver, it's like, man, I just really like living in a smaller space. I don't know why. I don't know what that means about my personality. But I don't like having a big giant, so much to take care of. Like I didn't have to take care of anything down there. The maintenance was done, everything was done. If something didn't work, I just call somebody. I think I like the freedom of not having to take care of everything. So I like that. And I don't know, we watched a lot of movies and we talked a lot and we just had a lot of really good, really like those conversations you have to have in case the person actually dies, where you talk about death and funerals and burials and who gets what. Like we had a lot of those conversations, and I don't think a lot of couples have those until they're like faced with it or they think they have time. Because Bill, we're in our 60s, so we thought, we don't have to deal with this stuff till we're like 90. And so we had a lot of really, I think, what people would consider really hard conversations. And I don't know, but they were good. Like we really, really understand everything about whatever we thought we didn't know about the other person, we know now. Like there are no secrets, and you live in a space this big for that many months. There are no secrets.
Get good at having hard conversations. That's like I
It,
think that's a tip too for for married people, for people that, you know, have relationships. They don't necessarily have to have the title.
You know, my mom is 86 years old, and a couple times I've said like, "Hey, you know, where do you want to be buried?" And she just starts crying. I don't want to talk about it. You just decide. Like she will literally not have a conversation with me. I'm like, "But mom, just like, what do you want? It doesn't matter." And she just falls apart. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, "Okay, I got this man. We got 3 kids. We got grandkids. We've got 20 buildings in a town. We have all this stuff." It's like we need to talk about stuff. Like, we need to really talk about things. And we had to, you know, sign documents in case he died and change titles to properties. And like we went through the whole process as if, okay, if you don't make it, these things have to be done first. So it was weird signing power of attorneys and writing out what you want to happen to you when you die and buying a grave plot. And like we did all that. We did everything so that we wouldn't have to deal with it if the worst case scenario happened. Because it would all fall on my shoulders then. We talked to our kids, here's who gets what. Like we did all of it, everything. And it was very weird, but very comforting knowing that everybody knew where we stand on everything. Like we even bought matching grave side by side grave plots. Like think about that. It's like, okay. I was like, okay, this is a little bit creepy, but you know, you, we had time to plan.
But also when you know where you're going after
Yeah.
you transition,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you know, I think
Oh yeah.
that does bring a little peace. Like me personally, with what's going on in the world right now, I'm like, okay, God, go ahead and take me. I'm
When is
ready
that
to not pay
rapture
any more
coming?
bills.
It's like, when is
I
that rapture? Come on, man. Every
I'm
day I'm like, oh man, I'm still here.
no, I'm just like, I'm just waiting for like somebody to blow off a
I
nuclear
know.
bomb or something for it to be like, okay, God, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Something. I'm the same
I'm
way. Every
so
day I'm like,
serious.
oh, still here, rats.
No, and I mean, I
Honestly.
love the life that I live. You know what I'm saying? And I
Oh no.
understand, you know, I love the relationships that I have, the people I have in it. I'm very grateful. Um, but I'm also not afraid
Yeah, me
of
too.
death. And I think a lot of people are.
And
But
you know, saying that, I think one thing Bill and I both realize is that we're not afraid of death at all, either one of us. And I don't think you really realize if you're afraid of it or not. So you really are looking like, okay, you're doing this thing that 40% of the people die. So how do we really feel about death? Like,
mhm.
really? And we're both like, you know what? We're okay. Like, if we're here, we're good. If we're not, we're in heaven. So it really makes you, it makes you evaluate how much faith do you actually have? Like, do you really, really, really believe all the way down to your soul? Or is there a smidge where you're like, I'm not 100% sure. I 99% believe in Jesus, but maybe there's a piece of me that doesn't. You got to really think about that because it's like, okay, well, how do we really feel? Because this is now a reality that in the next 6 months, you know, something tragic can happen and you could be on life support or something could happen to me, like anything could happen. And so I think it was kind of good to I think to have those conversations because people all the time say, "Oh, I'm not afraid to die." It's like, yeah, but are you really not afraid for sure? Are you 100 million% sure where you're going? Because we were faced with like these are the things, and under these conditions, like the plug gets pulled, like all this stuff, you know. So it was weird because I was like, you know what? I feel 100 million% confident, and I think that gave both of us a lot of peace. That we're like, you know, if it happens and if it doesn't, I could get hit by a bus taking you to the hospital so that you're a doctor's appointment, and we're okay with it. So I really realized, like, I'm really okay with it, which I think I always thought, but I was never really faced with the fact of, okay, this is in front of you right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh. So it kind of gave you like, I don't know, it gives you like a sense of freedom.
But
You know, isn't that weird? But it does. It's almost like it gave us freedom.
yeah, because you don't have that fear, you know?
Mm.
Um, what was some of like your favorite scriptures that you had while you were going through this process?
Well, I think what ended up becoming one of my favorite, I think is it Ecclesiastes 3? Let's see here. I think it's Ecclesiastes 3 where it talks about the seasons. Oh, I can't see. I think it's, I don't know, I can't read my Bible. Anyway, I think it's Ecclesiastes 3. It says there's a time for everything, a season for this, a season for that. Is that the right one? Yeah.
I am not that
And
Christian. Like I literally like I feel like I'm still like such a, when it comes to knowing which verse it is, like I just I'm not
hold on,
there.
let me see. Ecclesiastes. I gotta find this really quick while we're on the phone. Ecclesiastes 3. Okay. So I'll read it to you. Oh, hold on. Let me find the verse. So we'll do a quick Bible study. I'll read Ecclesiastes 3. I have to make sure that's the right one. I read it a bunch of times, but then I'm like, is it 3? Which one is it? So anyway, it's the Ecclesiastes 3. Okay. So my phone. There it is. Okay. So this is Ecclesiastes 3. This so that in the Bible, this says that there's a time for everything. So there's that song by the Songbirds. There, it like a '60s song. There's this time. I don't know. Anyway, it says there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to scatter stones, a time to gather, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear, a time to mend, and a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, and a time for war and a time for peace. And I don't know, I read this like 4,000 times because it talks about that everything we do is a season.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, this is a season. This doesn't mean this is forever because there's a time for every single thing under the sun. And it says like, God made everything beautiful in his time. Like there's a time for everything. So I thought, okay, so this is my season to take care of my husband and talk about the things and learn about stuff and read and do things I don't take a lot of time to do. And so I think instead of looking at it like, oh my God, I have this terrible thing, I was like, it's a season and
Yeah.
it'll go away. Now it'll go away in a good way or it'll go away in a bad way, hoping for the best. But I don't know. I read that verse a lot. I even did a couple podcasts on it. I did a couple Bible studies on it. And I think I even talked about it on TikTok a few times. I think if people would not compartmentalize, but recognize more that whatever they're going through, good or bad, it's a season. If it's really great, it's still only going to be a season. Nobody has great every day of their life from point A to point B. And if things are bad, it's still a season. So what's it going to look like on the other side of the season? So my mind was more like, okay, so when he gets through this, what's it look like on the other side for us? How is life after this? And I don't know. It gave me a lot of like comfort knowing that God just says there's this time for everything. I mean, well, this is our time for this. And hopefully we never have to do it again. And we both just like die in our sleep. Really easy and peaceful. But if we don't, whatever it is, it's still just a time. So I think that might have been one of my biggest takeaways is that I think when you're in something, it's all encompassing.
And you feel like it's going to last forever,
And
and
you feel
that's
like
going
it's
to be
never
your.
going to go away. And because I felt that way, like when I went through my first divorce, and I was like, oh my gosh, I lost my house, my husband, my car. I was like, this is awful. And at that time, I wasn't really going back to church much. And I was just like, I thought, oh, my life is ruined forever. And now I'm like, okay, well, this is a season. I just hope it doesn't last too long.
Yeah, going through the wilderness is like the worst. Like going through it, like, and
So
and you can
bad.
try to be as positive as you want to. You can be,
Yeah,
and you can, but like you got to just admit, like, okay, there's a season to mourn. There's a season to 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 heal and to go through what you go through. There's just
yeah.
these seasons, just like the winter. I'm not a fan fan of the winter. I like the fall.
I'm not either. It snowed today for the first time. It's like, oh, it's snowing.
Yeah, but at the same time, like if we just look at how it's in a constant change, the world
Yeah,
is constantly changing, and we get so stuck in the now, thinking it'll be forever. And
especially when it's negative.
yes, when it's negative, because when it's good, like it's either we think something bad's going to happen to us, so we don't enjoy that goodness that we're in,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
we think that it's always going to be this way.
It's
And
gonna always be this way.
that's a
I'm always
delusion.
gonna make $1 million every month. It's great. Woo! It's always gonna be great. You're right. So you're in the good, you just expect it never to end. And when you're in the bad, you think it's never going to end. And yeah, and I feel like probably if I had like my giant biggest takeaway, it would just be about the conversations and the talking and really truly understanding that everything is temporary, the good and the bad. Now you can have like good, like, intertwined in most of your life, but things are going to happen. People are going to die. Things are going to happen. People get into foreclosure. They get into bankruptcy. People get into car accidents. People get can't like stuff happens. And I think and I know, like you were saying, when people are in a negative season, you do feel like when's it going to end? And we want to hurry up and get it over with. But I feel like the lessons are there. People miss the lessons when they're in the valley. But actually, all the good lessons are in the valley, not at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, it's one thing to be positive when everything's going right. It's one
Oh,
thing
yeah.
to, um, have hope and stuff like that when the lights are on, you know,
Mhm.
and faith when, you got a promotion or something like that.
Exactly.
But when you're struggling to pay the bills, or when, and it's not like you're not trying or whatever, but and there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of different things in this country right now.
So
And
much. And
they,
COVID's been going on forever. It's like, oh my God, when is COVID going to be over? Like,
well
stop.
now I'm more concerned about the economic downturn that we're going to see. We're
Oh, I
already
know.
starting to see it, but we're
Yeah, we are.
really gonna see it. And I'm not a doomsday person whatsoever, but I think that really for me in my season, my valley, I learned the importance of leaning on God, and
Yeah.
really learning those lessons, learning about myself, learning that I
Yeah.
will get through this, also understanding that it's just a season. And I felt like the season I was going through was a season of sacrifice and a season of doing without and stuff, and that was
Mhm.
hard for me.
Yeah.
But then I learned, you know what, I need to work on my contentment. That's one thing I really need to work on.
Yes. I worked on that too. I'm glad you said that because we were in a small, like a 900 square foot apartment, and for like 6 months we were only allowed to go to the hospital and back. No place. We still can't even go eat in restaurants yet because it's the system. And a couple in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna live in this space? And which counter does what I said about living in smaller spaces. But it was like there was no place for me to go either. I can't go to the mall and be around people and bring a germ back. And I was like, you know what? I just need to be happy in this space and make this space work and make it a happy place. And it's a hotel. It was like a hotel that we stayed at. And I just did little things. Like I bought some pictures and I bought a little furniture and I made it like cute and homey. And I had to learn like I can't rush the process. I can't make Bill get better faster. I have to be content. And if it takes 2 years, I have to be okay with that because I can't force him to get better faster. Your body only heals at the rate at which it heals. And so I did learn that. So I'm glad you said that because I was trying to think, what did I learn? And the weird thing is I don't even looking back now. Now we still have like a year to go. He's a long way from I'm 100% because his immune system is still. So right now he was like the boy in the bubble. So and he's still like that. So we still don't go into restaurants. We'll go to movies. We don't have a lot of people around us. Like he's still some of that, but a big issue was for the bone marrow not to reject the new bone marrow, which was perfect. But we're still in it. And so I don't know, I think looking over the last year, I don't even feel like we were in a valley. And I know that sounds really weird because it was so scary and it was so death defying, but we both had a lot of faith and trust in each other to take care of each other. I trusted God to take care of him. And I felt like it was actually a good time in our marriage. It was like this really great little tiny bubble, and just the two of us were in it the whole time. So I know it's terrible and awful, but it's not like a memory I look back and go, oh God, that was horrible. I mean, it was scary. It was scary, but it wasn't horrible.
I
Does
had a
that make
similar
sense?
situation in my life like that because of how my mindset was.
Mhm.
And perspective is so important.
So important.
Um, when we lost everything in a hurricane and we were living in Airbnbs and hotels and stuff like that, I had so much gratitude because we had, it was paid for. We had food. I got to try all these places. I got to just do so much. I got to make a
Yeah.
life that I wanted in Atlanta for like 3.5 months because I wasn't going to be able to ever like live there until my husband's out of the military because there's not like a base in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so like I when I even look back on those memories of like, okay, yeah, I was technically homeless for 5 months until we closed on this house. But it was one of the most happy times
Yeah.
of our life, even though we were driving back and forth from Florida to Georgia, then to Missouri, and I mean Illinois, and all of these travels and stuff like that. But it was really how we looked at it and how much gratitude we had, and you deal with what you got. You know, you you
Yes.
you acknowledge where you are, you make the best of it,
Yes.
and you keep it pushing. It's only temporary.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
feel you. I could not agree more because we didn't have any option. The other option was not to do it, and then Bill would slowly die over like a 2-year period. I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to watch you just choke out. So we're just going to go for it. And if you die, you die. And if you don't, you're still going to die in a couple years, but it'd be awful. And I don't know, we found, I guess that's a lot of it. Like you said, like we found contentment there. We knew this is it. These are the cards in front of us. This is the hand we were dealt today, and we can't change it. So we can be happy and deal with it and get along and make the best, or we can just be super miserable and crying, oh, what's happened to me? But it's not going to change the time period,
yeah, yeah,
you
and I
know?
I like that you said, you can't rush the process.
No, no, you can't. And so and it's funny because Bill and I are always those people like, Lord, give us patience right now. So we always struggle with patience because we're really really go getters, and we don't like things that take a long time. And so I remember thinking like, well, we're both going to learn the lesson of patience together, apparently, because there was no option, and so we and even like now, he's like, "Man, I wish I fast." But I'm like, "Hey, can't speed." He's like, "Yeah, that's it." So mentally, we just said, "Okay, this is 1 year to get to the end of the first phase, and then you have to keep checking on things." I'm like, "So we're still in the 1 year mark." I was like, "This is how long it takes. This is what it is. We just have to hang out and go with the flow and see what happens." And so we both definitely learned patience because you can't make it go faster. And when people are in a time period, whatever it is, health issue, going through a divorce, death of somebody, like you can't just make it go faster. You have to just stay in that moment until it's time to be into the next moment.
Yeah. Oh
I
man.
definitely learned that because I'm the kind of person like, hey, I've had a podcast out for 3 weeks. Why is it not number one? You know, and because I think that way. I was like, I had my podcast. I was like, I've had this thing for 6 months and it's not number one yet. Why is this taking so long? Like that's how I think. And I'm like, okay, well, there's like 40 million of them, so maybe that's why.
There's so many of us out here. And it's I'm wondering the same thing. Like, why?
I know. So, like, that's how I think. I remember even complaining to Bill a couple of years. I was like, I've been doing this for 6 months. He's like, listen to you. What is wrong with you? Because it takes time. I'm like, I know, but I should have the number one show by this time. Like, how long is this going to take? And then, because we just like things to be done quicker. And then when all the stuff with Bill came up, I was like, okay, well, I can't rush it. I can't rush the podcast process. I can't rush the process. I can't rush it. So we're just going to be in it. So we were just in it together. That was the thing. We were in it together. So we are just like Team Twyford, but like really in it together. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't even look back like then it was. I mean, I know it was a lot what Bill went through, and he went through a lot. I mean, oh my God, that man's poor body's like, whew, he had havoc wreaked on him. But he didn't have any side effects from the chemo. He didn't have any side effects from the stem cell or the bone marrow transplant. He was never sick and throwing up. Like he didn't have any of that. I said,
That's really
that's
good.
because you got all kinds of people praying and praying and praying. And we just like prayed that off. Like, Lord, we're not going to have that. We're not these demons are not coming in here making us sick. We're not having none of that. We're just going to rock through this until we get to the other side of it.
Yeah, there's so much power in prayer. My mom has cancer right now. And I put up a post, and I've got, because I don't live, she lives in South Carolina. I live in Illinois. And she's like, thank you for your prayers. I feel them. And because she's
Yeah.
not a Christian, but she'll go to church with me, and she'll she's spiritual. She's
Yep.
just, she's got a lot of church hurt and all this. And you know what? I'm gonna still be me. Right. So,
Yeah. Well, I will pray for your mom too. I'm sorry to hear that.
but she's handling it so well. She has a really good mindset. She's
Yeah.
very, very grateful.
Yeah.
And it's just a season. Like, I'm having my baby shower in December, and I'm like so annoyed that she won't be able to be there because she can't be around people. But I'm like, you know what? Like, I got over that. Like in the first initial, I'm like, this is what really bothers me. But what can I do about it? I'm like, I'll put a table up, you know, having people have a picture of like her there, and just to be like, write a nice note for my mom as she's going through this, battle. She really wishes she could be here, send prayers. And I think that's just what I'm going to do, because I don't want to Zoom my mom in. I don't like that. I don't like to watch.
No, I know.
I don't like to watch award shows because I don't want to like watch a party that I wasn't invited to. I've been like that since I was a teenager. Like,
that's funny. I've never heard anybody say it like that.
I have no interest. Like,
it's true though, because you're like, oh, I want to be there. Like everybody's there,
dressed up, looking all this, and I'm sitting here in my house just
that's
watching
funny.
these people. Like, I'm good. So I don't. And for something like that I know she would want to be at, it's not like it could truly be interactive with it being on Zoom. She just has to watch in. Like, I don't.
No, that's too weird. And for her, I mean, I don't know her at all, but I feel like if I was watching something like that, I would just wish I was there so bad. I don't think I would enjoy it. And I feel like from your point of view, you'd not enjoy it as much knowing she's just watching and wishing she was there too.
Yeah, but I would love for people to just like write her nice notes and be able to send that off to her and let her know, like, hey, you were thought about, and take some pictures with it, like with the picture of her, and then just send that. This is gonna come out after my baby shower, so she's not gonna know that I'm doing all of this, but like, I think that's more thoughtful than.
Yes, that's sweet. It's very sweet.
But
maybe make little videos for her and put together some stuff. And
yeah,
well, I hope she gets cured. I hope she gets cured.
Oh, she will. She will. It's
and saved in the meantime. That's it. Hey, I'm gonna pray with you. I stand in prayer with you. Gonna get your mama saved.
Yeah. But
have her read that Ecclesiastes verse and say, hey, mom, and just like print it out for her. And just maybe print. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, maybe like print it out and frame it and send it to her and say, hey, I just want you to think about this. That God says every single thing has a season, and this is just your season. This is not forever. And maybe she would read that. It gave me a lot of comfort reading it. Just really realizing that this is a season. This is not the rest of my life. And who knows? She might just start reading that and go, oh, wonder what else is out there in that Bible.
Yeah.
But I get the church. I get the whole thing. I was raised
because she was
crazy
born Catholic.
Southern Baptist. grandparents. I was like, what the hell's wrong with all of you people?
Yeah, she was born Catholic and grew up in New York, and there's just a lot. But anyway, I'm going to let you go, Dwan. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. You know what? This is such a good podcast for someone that is going through the wilderness, going in the valley, how they should look at this situation that they're going through, knowing that it's only temporary, understanding that, you got to do the best with what you got. And really have those tough conversations, have those moments to also laugh and find joy in because you found a lot of joy. Y'all, I'm telling you, go look her up on TikTok.
I started doing those TikToks. I was like, because I had like a weird amount of free time because he was asleep a lot. But I had to like wake him up, take pills, wake him up, eat, wake him up. So there's a lot of caretaking. There's a lot of sleeping. So then I started doing TikToks. I'm like, I'm gonna do TikTok. And I started doing TikToks about just cleaning in the room and interviewing him when he was asleep. And I'd be like, oh my God, I just made myself laugh. And then he'd be like, all right, what'd you put up on TikTok today? I was like, oh, here, watch these videos. So half the time he didn't even know what I was doing. But I thought, you got to have some sort of fun or some outlet or something to make a tragic situation not seem so tragic.
Yeah. And you've grown your TikTok. You've got a couple thousand followers on
I
there.
have a few. Yeah. I haven't even done it for the last month because we were getting ready to move and get back here. So I just started back up this week. And yeah, so I grew a couple thousand. Like, oh, I got a little followers. People liking my TikToks, and I don't know. I guess my dad has always said like make the best out of a bad situation, and there was those sayings like life gives you lemons, make lemonade, like all those things that you hear, but it's actually really true. When you're in a season that is not that you want to be in, I don't think we should hurry to the other side. I think we should learn the lessons that are there. Because then it's like if you go around the mountain and you don't learn, God will just send you back around the mountain.
Yep,
again.
you're going to keep going.
It's like I've been around a couple mountains like 800 times. It's like, what am I going to learn and stop going around this stupid mountain? And people don't realize that. It's like if you fail this time, you'll just get to take this test over. So it's like I was like, okay, Lord, I do not want to take this test over. So I am going to be happy in my situation. I'm going to be content. I'm going to be prayerful. I'm going to take it serious. I'm going to have fun. I don't want to go around this mountain again. So I look at life more like that, and I'm like, okay, I definitely don't want to take this trip again. So
that's a good
and that's it. And I've always, I mean, up until like the last decade, I've always just tried to hurry and get to the other side of something that I didn't like. And now I'm just like, no, there's lessons here. And plus, when I hurry, I have to take the test again. So it's like, okay, I'm in my 60s. I'm like, Lord, I feel like I'm really good right now. Like, I don't need any more tests for a while. Like, I feel really good right now. So, like, let's just back off on the test taking. Let's just hang out right here. So, yeah, so I definitely learned that too. It's like, I definitely do not want to go around this mountain again.
Yeah. Well, I pray that you have a season of rest.
Oof. I know. Me too.
To health issues, because I know you're going to stay busy working. You're going to stay like, I don't imagine you ever retiring.
No.
But
no, I know I have to stay busy and have fun, but yeah, it's been just really crazy. Like even in the last 8 years since his heart attack, like I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I had to have a parathyroid surgery. Like all these things happen. I was like, man, we're in like some crazy, like we got to get on the other side of our health here. So I feel like now we're kind of, we're on the other side. It's like, it's been like, 5-6 years there, like a bit crazy for both of us. It's like, okay, so now we're just going to enjoy that bum and put that behind us. And we're going to be on the healthy path for, forever until the next mountain comes around.
Hey, yeah. And then you'll get your new body when you go to heaven. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be on as like a favorite guest. I was so excited this whole week to talk to you.
Yeah, me too.
Send me some pictures of your baby shower. I want to see what's happening.
I will.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Empowered Woman, Badass and Unfiltered podcast. If you found any value in this, please consider sharing and subscribing. Now go out and be a badass.